Hi, this is Somshakar from Maths Guru Academy. If you are watching the video for the first time, please subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon to get the notifications of my latest videos. Relationship between zeros and coefficients of polynomial. Zeros means you know that the value of x for which the polynomial will get 0, that one we call it as zeros. Then what is coefficients? The numbers which are with variables we call it as coefficients, right? The numbers which are with the variables, that one we call it as coefficients. So here zeros of linear equation. Linear equation means the polynomial having highest power 1, we call it as linear equation. So what is the general form of linear equation? Ax plus b. Here b we call it as constant term and a we call it as coefficient of x, right? So the zeros of linear equation is given by minus b by a. That means if we consider any linear equation and if we solve that equation, that means if we find the zeros for that equation, then that value will be equal to minus b by a. For example, so we take here 2x plus 5 is equal to 0. This is a linear equation, right? Because highest power is 1, then we call it as linear. So let us find out zeros for this polynomial. So first we will shift 5 to the RHS. What it will become? 2x is equal to minus 5. Next we will shift 2 to the RHS. So it will goes to the denominator. So x will be minus 5 by 2, right? So we took a linear equation. So then we find the zeros for that equation, right? So we got minus 5 by 2. So this minus 5 by 2 will be equal to minus b by a. That means, so compare this polynomial with general form, nothing but standard form. Ax plus b is equal to 0. The value of a is 2. The value of b is 5, right? So minus equal. So what is the value of b here? We got 5, right? So check it in the question. The value of b is 5. Then what is the value of a here? 2. So check it in the question. What is the value of a here? 2, right? So if we consider any polynomial and if we find the zeros for that polynomial, then that value will be equal to, so we'll take one more example here. 3x minus 2 is equal to 0. So we can find the zeros for this equation by using this formula. What is that formula? X is equal to minus b by a, right? So this minus as it is. What is the value of b here? Minus 2, right? So minus 2 divided by, what is the value of a? 3. So minus into minus plus 2 by 3. So the zero of this polynomial is 2 by 3. So we can verify here. So 3x minus 2 is equal to 0. If we shift minus 2 to the RHS, what will become? 3x is equal to 2. So what is the value of x here? 2 by 3, right? So the value of this polynomial is 2 by 3. Getting? So in a simple words, for any linear equation, if we find the zeros of that linear equation, then that value, nothing but that zero will be equal to this formula, nothing but minus b by a. So here b is constant term, a means coefficient of x. If alpha and beta are zeros of quadratic equation, what do you mean by quadratic equation? The equation having highest power 2, we call it as quadratic equation. So what is the general form of that quadratic equation? Ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0. This is the general form, nothing but standard form of quadratic equation. Now if alpha and beta are zeros of quadratic equation, then sum of zeros, sum means addition of zeros. For quadratic polynomial, nothing but quadratic equation, how many zeros we will get? 2 zeros, right? Because highest power is 2. So if the highest power is 2, how many zeros or how many x values we will get? 2 x values, nothing but 2 zeros, right? If we add those 2 zeros, then that value will be equal to minus b by a. So here B means coefficient of x, right? A means coefficient of x square. Then if we multiply that zeros, nothing but the two zeros, what we'll get? If we multiply those two zeros, then that value will be equal to C by A. C means here, what is here? Constant term. A means coefficient of x square, right? So if we solve the quadratic equation by splitting the middle term method, we will get two zeros, right? Nothing but two x values. So if we add those two x values, then that value will be equal to minus b by a, and if we multiply those two zeros, then that value will be equal to c by a. For example, we'll take one quadratic equation here. X square plus 7x plus 10 is equal to 0. So here the highest power is 2, that's why we call it as quadratic equation. So if the highest power is 2, how many zeros? Nothing but how many x values we will get? 2 x values. So how can we find those 2 x values for the quadratic equation? By splitting the middle term method, right? So we will solve that. If we multiply first term and last term, what we will get? 10x square. So in which table 10 we will get? 2 5s are 10 or 5 2s are 10 we will get, right? If we add these two, then we will get 7, right? So here x square is there, here 1x, here 1x. So if we give both the plus signs, then for 2x plus 5x we will get 7x itself. So x square, this 7x can be written as 2x plus 5x plus 10 is equal to 0. So what is common in first two terms? X, right? So what is remaining here? So here x to the power 2 is there, nothing but we have 2x. If we write 1x outside, then here remaining is 1x plus, so this x we took common here, right? Then remaining is 2. Next, what is common in these two terms? Plus 5, right? So if I take 5 common, here remaining is x, then here what is remaining? 2, right? Is equal to 0. So next, common in entire expression x plus 2, right? So common in entire equation x plus 2. If I take x plus 2 common, here remaining is x, then here remaining plus 5 is equal to 0. Now this x plus 2 will be equal to 0. Then one more, x plus 5 is equal to 0. So what is the value of x here? If we should shift plus 2 to the RHS, then it will become minus 2. Then here if we shift plus 5 to the RHS, then it will become minus 5. So we got how many x values? 2 x values. So as I said, if the highest power is 2, how many x value we will get? 2 x values. Nothing but we call it as zeros. So we will get 2 zeros. So if we add these two zeros, then that value will be equal to minus b by a. So here alpha and beta are zeros of polynomials, means the value which we got here. So this value we call it as alpha, and this value we can consider as beta. So now we'll add these two now. So alpha plus beta, nothing but sum of zeros. What is alpha here? Minus 2 plus what is beta here? Minus 5. So here minus 2 as it is, plus into minus, as we know that minus itself 5. So minus 2 minus 5, if same sign is there, then we have to add it. So minus 2 minus 5 minus 7. So this minus 7 can be written as minus 7 by 1, right? So as I said, if we add those two zeros, then that will be equal to minus b by a, right? So here see here, minus b equal to this one, then 7 is equal to b. So the value of b is 7. So see here, if we consider this one to the general form, ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So what is the value of b here? 7, right? So value of b is 7. So we got it. Next, value of a. What is the value of a? If there is no number, means 1. We have to consider it as 1. So what is the value of a here? 1. So see here, what is the value of a? 1. So verified, right? So next, if we multiply those two values, nothing but alpha into beta, alpha value is minus 2 and beta value is minus 5, minus 2 into minus 5, so minus into minus plus 2 into 5, 10. So this 10 can be written as 10 by 1, right? So if we multiply those two zeros, then the product of zeros, then that value will be equal to C by A, right? So that means this 10 will be equal to C and this one will be equal to A. So what is the value of C here? 10, right? So C value is 10, matched. Next, what is the value of A here? 1. So again this value of A is also 1, right? So if we take any quadratic polynomial and if solved by using splitting the middle term, we'll get to two values. So if we add those two values, then that value will be equal to minus b by a, and if we multiply those two values, nothing but those two zeros, then that value will be equal to c by a.